is when you don't try.
Hello, everyone. This is Veer Mishra, and you're listening to the Very Veery Show, episode 4. Like always, we have an amazing guest lined up for you today. She's an entrepreneur, Forbes 30 under 30, and a doctor. She has been helping a lot of children around the world with a lot of medication support and etc. Please welcome Radhika Batra. So awesome. We have Dr. Radhika Batra with us. Hi, Radhika.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you so much for having me here.
It's great. It's great to
I'm
have
good.
you. I mean, like, it's an honor. I mean, like, Forbes 30 under 30,
Is it?
doctor, like, and who's doing some amazing work. And, like, it's a pleasure for me.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, like, for all the listeners, Radhika, can you just, like, give a brief introduction and, like, what you're doing, how your journey has been, etc.?
All right. So, I'm a pediatrician and I work with the government of India. And I also run a non-profit. It's called Every Infant Matters. And now we're working across 4 countries. That's India, Nigeria, Kenya, and Dominican Republic. So we started, so I started my journey in pediatrics, in fact, in 2016 when I joined as a resident.
Okay.
And when I joined pediatrics, I saw that a lot of children used to die and a lot of them used to become disabled or blind irreversibly. And being a very sensitive person, being a very emotional person, that sort of affected me on a very personal level. And what hit me the most was that, most of these, suppose 10 children were dying, at least 7 we could have saved if they were referred timely or if they were vaccinated properly. Just, any small cost effective intervention given on time could have saved these children from either dying or living a lifetime in disability or misery. So that is what affected me at a very personal level. And that's when I decided that I want to do something for disadvantaged children and for their mothers who are not aware of what is good for their children and what's not.
Yeah.
Because, if a child, or even if with all of us, suppose we are unwell, it affects us, of course, we are in pain. But if our loved one is unwell, I think it affects us onto a very different level, which is way more miserable than being unwell yourself. Like I know for my own self that, if my mom or my dad are unwell, I feel like, इससे तो मुझे ही हो जाता. I would prefer that it would have happened to me, and the suffering would have been lesser had it happened to me. So along with the child, I think I felt very deeply for their mothers as well, because from when we see children die, you see those mothers lamenting, and you see them just in a very very miserable state, and that is something which really affected me on a very very personal level. And that's how I started off with Every Infant Matters. And the idea behind Every Infant Matters is such that no child should have to die or live a life of an irreversible blindness or disability, especially if it can be prevented. That is the idea behind Every Infant Matters. And it's been 4 years, and we've done a substantial amount of work, and that's good for that. And we have a lot of projects which we are starting, which are new projects, and let's see where we get with those. So that's what my journey has been about. And of course, I've met a lot of interesting people in this journey, and they've all contributed to my personal growth and to the growth of the organization. And that's how it's grown across 4 countries and 3 continents.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're doing some inspiring work here. So, like, tell me, being a doctor, like the best introduction I had to what being a doctor is when I watched that movie Munna Bhai MBBS. Like, that was the first time introduction that I had, like, what a doctor's life will look like. So, like, how different is it? Like, what we saw in the movie versus what is the reality? Like, what is the
Which
reality?
Which movie are you talking about? I didn't get you.
Munna Bhai MBBS.
Oh, okay, right.
That was the first-hand introduction to me. Like, okay, maybe doctors' life are like this, but what is the difference? Like, what's the what's the life is actually like there, being a doctor?
So being a doctor is a very difficult life. It's not like they show in the movies. It's not like they show in the TV shows, Dr. House, Grey's
Obviously.
Anatomy. It's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult life because you're dealing with lives and people's lives. And if you mess up, they die.
Yeah.
That's the crudest way I can put it. That if tomorrow a banker or a lawyer or somebody makes a mistake, the stakes are of course high, but not as high
Yeah.
as somebody dying.
Yeah.
So, like they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So I think in this, the power of healing comes with the biggest and the most, burdening of all responsibilities. It feels like a burden at times because at many times we're also helpless.
Yeah.
Like there are times when we know that, we can't do much more. We've done our best. No science in the world can do much more.
Yeah.
And and it's just we're fighting a losing battle. We all know it, but then to actually be faced with that reality is a bit of a burden.
Yeah.
But this is one aspect where it's a losing battle, but there is this other aspect where we know that if there was a ventilator free in this hospital, then this child would have made it, right? And if we had a specific intervention available for this amount of money that the patient can spend, this child would have made it. Or if we had a donor organ available on time, the child would have made it. So these are the kind of things, which it's unfortunate that that they're there. These kind of inequalities are there, and it's very unfortunate for the world to be burdened by these inequalities, specifically in the developing and the underdeveloped countries.
Yeah.
And many times it happens, like suppose in my hospital a child needs a ventilator, there's no ventilator free, so the child is shunted across in the city to other hospitals. By the time he actually gets that facility, he may or may not make it.
Yeah,
So
true.
these are the kind of things which I feel that the lacunae that exist in the health system of the country and in fact of the world. And it's pretty unfortunate. Like I just feel very bad looking at the amount of money that governments spend on sports and entertainment, and I just feel that fine, they are important aspects of the world, but are they as important as a child dying? That's my point here.
That's true. That's an interesting angle because, like, if you actually look at it, majority of the government budget as well, like a very small fraction is actually allocated to healthcare and
Exactly. So the
government
healthcare budget is
hospitals and etc.
minuscule. It's minuscule compared to what it should be. And
Yeah.
that has been highlighted very strongly after this COVID crisis came in. When people said that, so many crores were spent on a statue, but the health budget is so less, and the ventilators in the country are so less. And, there were statistics coming key. One doctor is available for 11,000 people in the country. But, one doctor, okay, is available. But what is the specialty of that doctor?
Yeah, exactly.
Tomorrow, if there is a very, very sick, critically sick COVID patient, I will not be able to manage that. Okay, I can do basic stuff, but it needs a respiratory physician or a critical care physician to handle a case like that. So, okay, to say, that doctor-patient ratio, if you were to say, is okay, it's 1:11,000 or whatever. But actually, when it comes down to the crux of things, it's actually way lesser. There's a very big shortage of doctors in the country, very big shortage of specialist doctors in the country, which would cater to specialities and specific areas of expertise.
Yeah,
that's a very big problem.
And despite all these numbers, when we actually we know the reality, how things are actually going in healthcare and in medicine, and let's just say, as a doctor you'll be able to relate, one day you wake up, some politician has said something, and the whole doctors, the entire doctor community in the country is targeted, right? You are the news of the day.
True.
You are the
that
news of the
happens.
day, right? So how does it feel? I'm sure घर वाले, your friends, everyone must be asking कि यार ये issue के बारे में तेरे को कुछ पता है क्या? What is it? How's the reality?
मेरे को तो ऐसे personally मुझे तो सिर्फ ऐसा लगता है कि कहाँ फंस गए, ठीक है? It's like the most thankless job in the universe. Okay, yeah, constantly. So I'm a senior resident. So when I was doing my post graduation, I remember we used to stay up all night managing patients. All night कोई sick patient आ गया, उसको मैनेज कर रहे हो, हर 2 मिनट में कोई कॉम्प्लिकेशन हो रहा है उसको मैनेज कर रहे हो, ऊपर से फिर लेबर रूम से कॉल आ रहा है मैडम सिजेरियन के लिए आ जाइए, उसको मैनेज कर रहे हो. एंड सुबह आके ऑन राउंड्स आवर प्रोफेसर्स यूज्ड टू kick our asses कि तुमने ये नहीं किया, तुमने वो नहीं किया. And after you work like a good 26-27 hours and then you get yelled at like that, it's like initially it was very overwhelming. Of course, after a while everybody develops a thick skin and we're like, हाँ अब तो डांट पढ़नी है खा लेंगे, ठीक है. But for the first few months it was quite it was quite overwhelming कि पूरी 26 hours की हमने ड्यूटी करी है, 27 hours 36 hours हो रहे थे कभी कभी, and उसके बाद भी इतना we are getting shouted at. So that's one aspect. Second aspect is the patient's attendants will yell like anything. Just yesterday it happened. Like this patient came with severe dehydration. So I admitted the patient, I started the fluid correction and I started the treatment. Okay. Then of course I'm the only one on duty. I went to do my other work. So I knew that the child is slightly not well. So I kept, every few hours I was seeing that patient. And like the third time when I went, she started yelling at me. कि आप मैडम 3 घंटे हो गए, आप तो देखने नहीं आए. तो मैंने कहा कि I started the treatment. I came a few hours back. Your child is fine, but the child is crying so much. So I try to tell her, listen, your child is unwell, your child will cry. Okay, so don't, there's nothing I can come and do in the crying. You have to feed him. You have to console him. That is not a part of my job. But the public feels, that as a doctor, you have to be available at their beck and call at every second. And of course, as when I think of it, maybe it's not entirely their fault because having a sick child is a very high pressure situation for anybody. And as much as I would like to sit there for that patient the whole time, it's just my job doesn't allow me to do that. And that's what happens usually. So we get yelled at a lot, and it's a very thankless job. Even though the child was fine, like the case I'm talking about yesterday, he got okay. बट वो ना ये लड़ के गया, अच्छे से लड़ के गया, बिल्कुल ठीक होके गया, लेकिन अच्छे से सुना के गया, मुझे भी नर्सेस को भी. तो मैंने थोड़ा उल्टा सुनाया, वो बात अलग है, बट अच्छे से सुना के मेरे को वो गया है. So it was quite a episode created. I even asked the nursing staff, I said, what is the problem? They're like, madam, we don't know what they're doing. But all this happens a lot. Like it's a daily thing, patients yelling at us and attendants, parents getting angry. The child is not getting okay. So, that's what happens in a doctor's life. So, that's the way it is. But then, the flip side is that, okay, once every few months, maybe every 4 months or 6 months, there's one patient whose parents come and say that, हमने सुना था कि doctors भगवान का रूप होते हैं, आज देख लिया. So in a way we live for those days, and when things are particularly bad, we recall those days and we feel good. चलो ऐसा भी किसी ने हमें बोला था लाइफ में. And एक patient था जिसका थोड़ा difficult labor था, and the baby was born. It was a little difficult for us to resuscitate the baby, but the baby was fine. So they said, okay, yeah, we'll name the baby Radhika after you. So I was like, chalo, that's also a very touching feeling,
that's
that
beautiful.
A baby is going to be named after me. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, like, see, at the end, like, what matters is like, you need to have an impact on just one life.
Yeah.
Having an impact is like, pretty important, but just like, changing one life at a time is like, something that you guys as doctors do. I mean, like, हम लोग engineers हैं, हम लोग कुछ नहीं करते, practically computer के सामने बैठ के हम लोग सिर्फ चीजें करते रहते हैं. But like,
and engineers are making all the stuff we're using. Who's making the ventilators and who's
obviously like engineers बहुत दिमाग वाले होते हैं. Like they create a dependency so that they know, like, उनकी जरूरत पड़नी चाहिए ताकि उनको पैसा मिले. Like that's not the usual motive that doctors have, right? Their job is pretty different. Right. Like, they're dealing with people's life. We are dealing with just machines. Right. So obviously there's that difference.
It's a tough life, what I tell people ask me, Acha, should we make our child a doctor? So I said, no amount of money in the world is worth it. So if you should become a doctor only if you really want to become a doctor and that's you really feel like this is your calling, because
that's true.
No amount of money is worth leaving your family in the middle of the night, missing Diwali, missing your mom's birthday. So this is like a usual thing. Like I remember, I think I have worked last 3 years. I think I've been working on Diwali. So It's always been bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah,
Last 10 years, last 11 years, I've been studying, so we miss out on a lot of parties and a lot of social
that's true.
gatherings. And
That's
then
true.
you see your friends putting up stories on Instagram and they're drinking, and you're busy, book ke andar shak wo dal ke. You do feel a little, um, you know, um, unnerved that you
Yeah,
could also have been having fun, and the best years of your life are going by in
yeah.
studying and working. And so yeah, so that's what a doctor's life is about.
So, relating to this topic, and I've seen these guys study a lot. As a doctor, you would
Yeah, you study
like
a hell lot.
like yeah. So like, इतनी books पढ़नी होती है, इतना सारा पढ़ाई करना होता है. How did you actually decide कि ठीक है, मैं आज उठा, आज ठीक है, आज मुझे डॉक्टर बनना है. How did that thing occur to you?
So I wanted to be, so because both my parents are doctors. I
Yeah.
remember I always wanted to be a doctor. Like, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be a doctor since I was 3 years old. Because when I was a child, we used to stop at accident sites to help victims.
Yeah.
Because my father is a very, he's a good Samaritan, I would say.
Okay.
And he likes to extend his medical. He's a very good doctor, touch wood.
Okay.
And he likes to extend his help wherever he can. So he would stop at accident sites and help victims reach the hospital. Like, we ferried a lot of victims in our own personal car till the hospital.
Yeah.
So these are. And then once I remember I was a child and we were at the swimming pool at Ames, in fact.
Okay.
So Ames swimming pool, we were swimming and someone drowned. As in, there was a person who drowned, and he was fished out by a fellow doctor, a colleague of my father's, and my father and the colleague gave the guy CPR in front of us and revived him. So these kind of experiences in my childhood really
That's true.
inspired me, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to be a doctor to have a capability that if someone is dying in front of me, I should be able to help them. That was my idea of becoming a doctor. And then after I specialized in pediatrics, I realized that pediatrics is in fact a very hardcore branch, because dealing with sick babies,
Yeah.
because the baby cannot tell you what is paining. It cannot tell you what is the problem. So
Yeah.
very very often you have to be intuitive enough, and there are certain signs which we are taught in pediatrics. The kind of cry, the way the baby is crying, the tone of the cry, whether
Okay.
it's a shrill cry, so that those kind of things are something which you develop over the skills you develop over the years. So it's a very it's a very, I would say, it's a very you need the skill. It cannot just
Yeah,
you
obviously.
cannot just read and learn pediatrics. You need to have a lot of good teachers and good patient exposure to actually be a good pediatrician and be very intuitive. That is
Yeah.
something which I feel comes to me naturally. I'm a very intuitive person, so that helps me in pediatrics.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
That's nice. So how many years, how many years it took you to complete your study, then maybe masters or something like that?
yeah. So I started MBBS in 2009.
Okay.
Till 2013, 2014
14.
beginning, I was studying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in MBBS. 2014 to 15, I was an intern in RML Hospital. So internship is a very good year where you're learning like the hands-on stuff, and
Yeah.
you don't have any responsibility, but you're getting to do all the fun work. So internship is like the best year of a medical student's life.
Yeah.
So internship was fun. And then 2015 to 2016, I was doing research. I went to the UK and I did a research fellowship at the Imperial College, Royal Free Hospital.
Mhm.
And then I came back and I joined my post graduation in 2016.
Wow.
2016 to 2019, I was in post graduation. So it was a good 10 years.
2009 to
11 years.
2019. Wow. Like
Yeah,
that's
10
that's
years.
too much of
Yeah.
studying.
1 year of
Like,
research, so 9 years. Yeah.
that's too much of studying. I mean, like मैं
Yeah.
maximum 2 साल पढ़ा है अच्छे से, वो भी college
अच्छा.
गया नहीं है मैं कभी.
Hey, but मैं अभी भी पढ़ रही हूँ, so I am planning to do super specialization, so I am reading for that.
Wow.
And I think I'll have to study another year. Yeah, I think so. That's
Like, best of luck with that.
thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. So yeah, I mean, like, and also I mean, like, so coming to that point, like, till 2019, like, practically you were studying, right? And Every Infant Matters started in 2016.
17.
Right? 17, right? So like, while you were researching at that time, you came up with the idea?
No, so I came up with the idea in 2016 when I started the residency, and I saw these deaths and travesties firsthand. So that's how I started off with it. And then I started on a very small scale where I involved my colleagues and co-residents in helping me in deliver a flagship program. And then we expanded within Ghaziabad to 2 more places. Like I studied in Ghaziabad, and then we went on to Haryana and some neighboring states, and then we just took it off from there. Then in 2018 I attended the One Young World Summit. So the One Young World Summit is basically a under 30 summit for change makers, and it's basically a place where you have sessions on all the individual sustainable development goals. So like there's a specific session on health and specific session on unemployment, education, slavery, sexual abuse. So you're tackling, like, they're addressing all the world's problems in different sessions. And they have amazing speakers. They have Nobel Prize laureates, and they have celebrities, and people who made a difference, humanitarian work, people who've done humanitarian work, and people like that. So and over there it's attended by 1800 delegates from all over the world, under 30, who are trying to make a change. So you can really network over there. And after my experience at the One Young World, I developed a bunch of collaborations in other countries. So my biggest partnership was with this person in Nigeria. So after India, I think the biggest project is going on in Nigeria, where we've prevented almost 20,000 children from going blind. We've given prenatal vitamins to 27,000 pregnant women. Done a lot of work in Nigeria. And one thing leads to the other, and networking has always been one of my strong suits, because I'm a good talker, and I like meeting people, I like making friends. So it's been easy for me to network. And the project itself is so impactful, because you're saving children from going blind. That is something which everybody wants, everybody has an interest in. Like today, if I tell you that you can start up this thing for no added cost, just a little bit of effort, and you can save children in your community from going blind, why wouldn't you take it? So and especially since this is a huge blindness problem because of vitamin A deficiency is really big in Asia and Africa.
That's true.
Like
That's
70%
true.
of the children going blind because of vitamin A deficiency are in Asia and Africa. So everybody was ready to collaborate. And then recently we started off with work in Kenya and Dominican Republic. And Dominican Republic and Haiti again have a lot of malnutrition and a lot of children going blind because of nutritional deficiencies. So they were also very, very keen to start up these projects in their area. And it's quite, needed in their area as well, which I wasn't aware of. So I think, that's what happens. Like when you talk to people, you understand the problems in their area. Like I'll give you an example. Like I was talking to my partner in Kenya recently, and he highlighted such a horrifying problem that, I couldn't sleep that night. It was that horrifying. So I'll tell you. So basically, he told me that, ever since COVID, there's been a complete lockdown in their area, and people aren't able to get to work, and they're losing their jobs. And of course, the poverty is increasing, and it's just reaching a lot of people are really going hungry. He told me that, because of the lack of money to buy essential items, children, actually young girls of the age 7 to 15, are having to engage in transactional sex to get money to buy essentials like sanitary napkins. So this was something which was very horrifying to me. And because the idea of contraception is alien to them, so they are getting pregnant. And that's just, it's really impacting their lives adversely.
Obviously.
So this was, and he even said that, because the school education is now dependent on the internet, they don't have the money to pay for their Wi-Fi either. So again, to get the money for that, they're again engaging in these sexual activities to get the money for that. And that was just horrifying for me. And then we in fact we spent some of our grant money to deliver sanitary napkins to these women, so that for at least a month or so they're sorted, and they don't have to engage in such activities. And now we're writing another grant app to get a little bit bit of more funding for this
Yep.
purpose, directed towards these girls and help them in whatever way we can. So, it's like sitting in India, I would never think that ऐसा भी होता है कहीं world
That's
में,
true. That's true.
because it's horrifying.
That's true. So, what is your major source of funding and how the grants or etc.? So, how do you actually take care of the entire the finances that goes
Yeah,
around
so
that?
so for us, we have a very strong partnership with
Mm-hmm.
this American non-profit. It's a 501c3 non-profit. It's called Vitamin Angels.
Okay.
And what Vitamin Angels does is it gives free vitamin A, albendazole, and prenatal vitamins for 70 countries in the world.
Wow.
But their issue is that sitting in the US, they cannot really identify and make implementing partnerships
Sure.
in the core of the in the areas where it's needed the most, like where
Yep.
the poverty is the most and where the malnutrition is the most. So
Yep.
that's where people like me come in, because we're like the ground staff here, because we know where the malnutrition is the worst and which areas and counties are the worst hit.
Yep.
And that's how so they are more than happy to give us the medication, as long as we provide them with a certain amount of proof that we are doing their work, in terms of records and in terms of pictures and videos. So as long as we do that, and they have a very strong monitoring and evaluation process, it's
Obviously.
stringent, I would say. we have
Sure.
to, we have to follow that.
Yeah.
So they give us so we get donations in kind from them. So
Yeah.
that is basically the major source of funding in kind. As
Yeah.
such, we're not getting any cash from them, but we're getting donations in kind.
Yeah.
And aside from that, we have a small amount of donation coming in from families, from foundations, from dedicated individuals who want to make a change and who believe in our mission. So we get a small amount of donations from that. So, and a lot of times I have to use my own salary for the admin and
Yeah.
transport purposes, but I don't mind. So
Obviously.
it's so far we don't really, I would say, we don't really have a sustainable financial model, because we have are volunteers. We don't have any paid staff. And
Obviously.
yeah, so looking at the long in the long scheme of things, I think volunteers don't really work well in the long run.
Yeah.
So one of my goals for the coming year is to build a financially sustainable model by getting a few big stakeholders to invest in the project, and
Yeah.
by developing a technology aspect to the project, where we have an app or an Android tablet, and we
Mm-hmm.
have community health workers who can
Yeah.
go from door to door, and they can screen children for things which need urgent referral. So what
Yes.
I've done is I've made a list of 10 danger signs in children, like
Mm-hmm.
lethargy, not taking feed, jaundice, convulsions. And if there are more than two present, the health worker has to tell the parents, your child is unwell, please take him to the hospital, because this is a major problem in pediatrics, that the
Exactly.
child
Yeah.
comes to us only when it's too late. And had he come on time, had he been referred on time, we could have easily saved the child. This is one of the major problems that happens in pediatrics. So
That's true.
yeah, so we're looking at a number of grants and a number of stakeholders to invest in it. And of course, if people watching can
Yeah.
connect me to somebody, I'd be more than happy. So
I'm sure.
that
Someone is listening. I'm sure. People are there.
yeah. So
People
listeners,
want to
please,
collaborate.
we
Yeah.
have
Obviously.
yeah, we're doing a lot of work in COVID relief as well.
Yeah. And we
In fact,
recently
most of my energy in the last 4 5 months has been towards COVID relief, and
obviously.
done a lot of work.
That's
Yeah,
true.
done a lot of work.
There's a lot of work there, and I'm sure a lot of listeners are listening who are trying to do something. Please, the links of all the websites and social handles for the foundation is in the description. Please actually reach out to doctor, and please see if you can collaborate and do something for her or something with
Yeah,
her.
that'll be great. Yeah, and
Right.
we're always looking for more implementing partners.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I'll just explain, like, for everybody listening, I'll just explain what the model is about.
Mm-hmm.
So if suppose there's an NGO catering to, there are a lot of grassroots NGOs in the country who have like 100 children or 200 children whose education they're sponsoring. So,
Yep.
if they could reach out to me, I could send albendazole, vitamin A for them. And, we could have like a health camp, or I could do a few sessions over Zoom,
Yeah.
for holistic health education, something like that we could plan out with these people and just have like a health aspect to whatever work they're doing. If they're doing education, why not add an aspect to it and help and try and improve their health as well. So yeah,
Exactly. That's true.
that's how we implement these projects and in India. And yeah, we've done a fair bit of medical outreach camps, in
Hmm?
India and Africa. The camps have been wildly successful with almost 300 400 people attending per camp, and
Wow.
quite a good outreach with the camps.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And because like you see, the biggest problem I think is like a lot of people out there, especially like like young mothers, like people who are mostly single moms, or like in poverty down areas, like in mostly slums, or in under like the underdeveloped countries, they are not really
Yeah,
aware of all these things, right? The biggest
yeah,
problem is like the unawareness, like they don't have proper
unawareness, right,
education, they don't understand what's
right,
going on, like they just rely on like
yeah,
majority of the like births that are happening, like they're happening still in the homes, like in most of these regions, right? So like
yeah.
that's I think that's one of the biggest problem, where education is, it has to be at a grassroots level, where basic understanding of how the healthcare is going to work, how these
Now
things going to work.
I'll tell you the problem here.
Mm-hmm.
See, the problem here is that like in interiors of Ghaziabad, there are
Yeah.
communities who believe that vaccination is detrimental to a child's health.
Yeah.
Like from the last 5 generations, their grandmothers, their mother-in-laws have been telling them कि टीके तो नहीं लगवाने हैं, ठीक है,
ये तो
उससे
अलग
बच्चे
सीन है।
की हालत और बुरी हो जाए, ठीक है. And instead they are being told कि you go to a witch doctor or you go to a sadhu baba who is going to do that jhad phuk business, or who
Yeah,
is
yeah,
going to give that jari booty, or he's going to give a tabiz,
yeah,
and उससे सारी problem ठीक हो जाएगी, ठीक है. So now to break that cycle of 5 generations, if I'm a
yeah,
person from Delhi, okay, I don't speak their language, I don't follow their beliefs, for a stranger to come and say कि नहीं भाई, अगर आप टीके नहीं लगवाओगे आपके बच्चे को खसरा, खसरा is measles,
yeah.
खसरा हो जाएगा, खसरा जानलेवा होता है, ठीक है.
Hmm.
For me to say that will have very little impact,
Yeah,
right? So the solution here is lies in only one thing, that you pick up people from within the community,
yeah.
right? Suppose there's a tribe in Uttar Pradesh, it's called Musahar tribe, Musa because
Okay,
rat, they are
okay,
so poor and they're so uneducated that they eat rats, okay.
okay,
So that is the kind of education that they have and the kind of poverty that's there. So if
okay.
as a stranger, if I go into that tribe and say that you need to vaccinate your kids and you need to feed them good food,
Yeah,
they're not going to listen to me. But if I empower one individual from that community, he can train him as a health worker,
yeah,
he speaks the local language, he can reach out to the people and connect with the people in a much better way than I can, then
yeah.
imagine the kind of impact that will make. Okay, this is one aspect. Second aspect is, suppose there is a religious community,
Hmm.
and we approach the religious leader and we ask him to make these sermons that ask your community to vaccinate the children,
Yeah,
ask your community to take them to proper doctors, then the kind of impact they will have will be much greater than the
yeah,
kind of impact a doctor sitting in a white coat in a hospital will have.
yeah,
So, and speaking English or speaking Hindi and not speaking their local dialect.
yeah.
So that's where the difference lies, and that's the this is called last in the development sector, we call it last mile delivery.
Okay.
All right. So last mile delivery of health services is only possible if the community believes in the cause, right?
Yeah,
And if the services are brought to their doorstep, that is the only way.
yeah.
Because today, if I tell a daily wager, there's a rickshaw wala, I tell him कि आप आपके पूरे दिन की दिहाड़ी छोड़ के
Hmm.
अपने बच्चे को लेके जाइए 10 बहुत दूर एक कम्युनिटी हेल्थ सेंटर है,
Yeah, yeah.
वहां इसके टीके लगेंगे, ठीक है. तो for that guy giving up on the day's wages
It's not
to
possible. Yeah,
get that child a health intervention which they're not even sure is going to help is not a practical idea.
yeah,
So, we have to get these interventions to their doorstep, and we have to make sure that they don't have to miss their work or wages to access these interventions. And this is the whole concept of last mile delivery. And that's where the country is totally lacking, because
True.
despite there being a very strong universal immunization program in place, the country has a very strong universal immunization program in place. Vaccines are available, but almost 40% of the children in the country are unimmunized even then.
Yeah.
So that's where we really need to step up, and it's
Yeah.
so bad. And I'll tell you one story which came, which really affected me. I even wrote about it. I'll share the link of that
Mm-hmm.
article.
Sure.
So I was in second year, and there was a child, a 4-year-old girl, who came with seizures. So we thought of it as normal childhood seizures. We activated the protocol. I was a doctor on duty that day.
Mm-hmm.
I activated the protocol. I gave all the anti-seizure medication, sent all the investigations. Everything was normal. Seizure medications didn't work.
Okay.
Then my professor came and he was like, "तुमने dog bite की history ली है?" So as a second year, this is not something you usually ask. So I
Yeah,
said, "नहीं
that's
sir,
true.
नहीं ली." So he said, "लो." So then we asked कि कुत्ते ने तो नहीं काटा था? So she's like, "काटा था, face पे काटा था, 3 दिन हो गए." एंड
अच्छा.
मैंने कहा इंजेक्शन लगवाया था आपने, टीका लगवाया था? शी इज लाइक, नहीं, हम किसी बाबा जी के पास लेके गए थे, उन्होंने कहा था कि ये जड़ी बूटी से काम हो
Mm.
जाएगा एंड टीके की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. So, of course, the child got rabies and the child died. So, imagine in this day and age of science and technology,
Yeah.
and man has reached the moon, but a 4-year-old is dying of rabies. And rabies is a very painful death. It's a highly painful death. It's a very it's excruciatingly painful to even watch, what say
I can
of
understand. Yeah.
actually having to suffer through. And the child had all the symptoms. We splashed water. She was she contracted, and we blew air. So hydrophobia and aerophobia are symptoms of rabies, and that's how we were
Okay.
sure she does have. And that was just bad, because I mean, well, like I said, everything, technology has reached space, the moon, the
Yeah.
stars, and then a 4-year-old dies of rabies, and then you think about what humanity actually has come to. So,
लोगों के प्रायोरिटीज अलग हो गए आजकल है. पीपल वांट टू गो टू
yeah.
मार्स बट दे डोंट वांट टू नो वहां पे जाके अगर तेरे को अलग कोई बीमारी होएगा तो उसके लिए तेरे को डॉक्टर को भी लेके जाना पड़ेगा साथ में.
I am so surprised that there's actually a sect in the country who are the anti-maskers in
Okay.
this time of COVID. I mean, I read online, and they're the conspiracy theorists, and they say that wearing a mask is that thing is an infringement on your freedom. And I just think, I mean,
Oh, yes, I
come
think
on,
there was
we're
this
working.
debate. There was this debate in I
There
think
was,
Oxford
yeah,
as well.
they're called
There was,
that.
yeah.
So initially, so till last year, we had to tackle anti-vaxxers,
Yeah.
and now we have to tackle anti-maskers. I
Anti-maskers.
mean, look at the irony, and look at the ridiculousness of this thing. I mean, I feel that the anti-maskers should be called and should be made to do a day's shift in the COVID ward to actually, and then say, "Huh, if you have the guts, go in there without a mask, and let's see how you feel about then sermonizing the concept of not wearing a mask." Because come on, I mean, we're risking our necks here to serve the society, and then there are retards like you saying that don't wear a mask because it's against your right to freedom. I mean, come on.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
People are crazy anyways. This is other
They're
thing.
totally crazy.
So there's
People are
this
totally
there's,
crazy.
there's this crazy quote. So I have this idea. I do this thing जो सबसे crazy quote होता है जो मुझे अच्छा लगता है. Right? I print it on a
Yeah. Oh,
T-shirt and I
I'm
wear
also
it.
totally. I'm very into quotes. Like I love
Right?
quotes. Yeah.
So
What's the
I
quote?
print it on a T-shirt and I wear it. So this quote
What
दुनिया
is it?
चुनौतियों से नहीं चूतियों से परेशान.
हाँ, वो तो है.
Right?
I
So
agree.
right. So इतने
I
ज़्यादा लोग हैं.
agree.
We don't care of what is the problem. The only problem that we have is कि लोग stupid है, लोगों को समझ में नहीं आता, idiots है.
The common sense is very uncommon. I agree.
Exactly. I don't know why we call it common sense
Yeah,
because
common
it's
sense
very
is
rare.
highly uncommon. I mean,
It's
yeah,
very
come
rare.
on. The world is reeling under a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, so many lakhs have died, and you're saying don't wear a mask. I mean, where is the logic in that?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, on a weekend, let's say it's Saturday today, you just go to Galleria Market. There are hundreds of people, roaming like
No,
crazy.
it just pains, because see, why it hurts on a personal level. Because I am staying with my family. My
Yeah,
father is 65. He's a diabetic. My mom is 60. She has a respiratory problem. I cannot move out of the house because
exactly,
Delhi is unsafe for women.
exactly.
All right. Now I am risking my neck in the hospital, and then these people are roaming about without masks. That's why, it just feels like it's such a waste. It's such a waste. Why are we? And the worst part is that we can't resign because the government has put an embargo on that. There's some Essential Services Act in place which says
Okay.
that if you resign you'll be arrested or something. So
Wow. Is it?
legal action and pata nahi kya kya.
Is it? That's against the labor law.
No, but so I had a lawyer friend look it up because
Hmm.
I was very scared for the longest part of
Hmm.
March and April, and I was like totally, yeah, I don't mind sitting at home for the rest of the year because as such I
Obviously.
don't have a family to support. It's okay if I sit at home. I can run the foundation sitting
And
at
when
home. I
you
don't
when
need
you
to
are at
work.
home, anyways, खर्चा है नहीं कुछ. Right? When you are at home, ज़्यादा खर्चा क्या है? Like you have a whole
Yeah,
place
kharcha,
to stay.
exactly. I mean, it's not like, I have a family to support or
Exactly.
kids to send to school. So I was like, I might as well resign for the rest of the year.
Hmm.
And then I was told कि legal action ho jayega and stuff like that. And so,
Okay.
it was just like, might as well work. Who wants to go into litigation?
Essential Services Act. Wow. We
Well,
should release a hashtag. Say no
it's
to
called
essential
ESMA. It's
services.
called ESMA, Essential Services Maintenance Act. ESMA.
ESMA. Okay. Like let's
Yeah.
release a hashtag. Say no to ESMA.
Say no to ESMA. That will be superb. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I mean, like that's one thing. So a lot of people are like crazy around us, and and that's gonna be there. Like the human generation is crazy. Like the human race is like
Yeah.
built of craziness. So and that is one thing. Like what is one idea that you are crazy about? Like not as crazy as like people who are roaming around there, but like what is that one idea that you are more like very much fascinated about? That one idea, like
One
for which
idea
you
for
can
what? I
actually
didn't get
dedicate,
you.
like one idea, like one idea for which you can actually dedicate your entire rest of the life, do nothing and just work on that idea. What is that one
Yeah,
idea that
so
you
this
are
is,
focused on?
like I said, this is the idea. Don't let children die of things which can be prevented. Simple
Okay.
as that.
Okay.
So, there are many inequalities in the world.
Yeah.
Okay? The world is full of inequalities.
Yeah.
Everywhere you see, there are inequalities. There are inequalities in wealth, there are inequalities in employment,
Yeah.
in education. Everywhere there's an inequality.
That's true.
But, ubiquitous access to healthcare is
Hmm.
something which I feel should be
It should be a basic
the
right.
priority
Yeah.
of all governments, of all stakeholders. You
Yeah.
should have an equal access to healthcare. You know, despite of the fact whether in spite of the fact whether you can pay for it or not,
Yeah.
and whether you can, you are in India or in America, you should have the equal opportunities and
Yeah.
you should have the equal access, whether you're in a village or in a city, or whether you're in India or in Africa, you should have the equal opportunities and the equal access, and no person or no child should have to die for lack of a machine, or
That's true.
lack of a vaccine, or lack of a doctor being there on time. So this is the idea which I feel I could dedicate the rest of my life to. So yeah, that's what
That's
that's what
awesome.
every internet is all about. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. For me, that one
every
idea
internet.
is like, for me, that one idea is like, okay, so my idea is pretty crazy, but I want to like,
So what's your idea?
I want to spend the last days of my life in space,
Hmm.
right? In space. मेरे को Earth पे नहीं मरने का, right? That is very
Where
sure.
will you stay on Mars?
No, I don't know. In space, somewhere in space. I don't care.
In space.
It doesn't have to be a
Have you heard
planet.
that song by Frank Sinatra? Fly me
Believe.
to the moon.
Actually, there's this song that I like. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know whether I'll be
Oh,
back
I love
again.
that song.
That's a
Yeah,
crazy
yeah, I
song. I
like the
love that
Justin
song.
Timberlake version.
It's
All
pretty nice.
my bags are packed.
Fact
I'm ready to
to
go.
go.
Standing
That's
here
one of the like
outside
best
the door.
songs, and I liked it how they put it in that movie. Have you seen that movie Armageddon?
Oh yeah. Oh, I
They
remember
placed that
that.
song
That's
in that movie in a such a beautiful situation. Like
I
बाप भी जा रहा है,
I haven't
boyfriend भी जा
remember
रहा है.
right now, but I remember that song playing in the movie, and I remember another song from that movie. It's called "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing" by Aerosmith.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
that
remember
was
that.
another.
Okay.
That was another very good song. Or
So
was
I
it
mean,
from
like,
some other? I don't know. I don't watch movies much, so I don't know. But I know the song, and it's damn nice. Yeah.
so that is one crazy idea. Like, I'm working on, like, and I'm practically, like, by the end of next year, right? I'll probably, like, quit everything, start startup sub chhod ke. I'll be practically working on that. Mera plan pura ready.
Seriously?
Yeah. My plan is full ready. Hopefully, and I'll start doing that. So my goal is, like, by December 2021, I'll launch my first satellite, and then start working on it full time.
Wow.
Right. So I'm working towards it. Like, it's
Okay,
10%
please,
already
please
there.
don't forget me when you're rich and famous, and please let
I
me
see.
have this video. Like,
I don't believe in
I should
being
take a
rich.
selfie with you, before you get all famous, so I can sell it and make money later on.
Okay, ठीक है. You can take a screenshot of this. COVID
Yeah,
कब
I'll,
जाने
I'll,
वाला है
I'll
पता नहीं
definitely
है.
enter for this.
Right, but so see, I don't believe in, like, the kind of riches that people actually crave for. Like, I don't really work for money. Like, and
Yeah.
my richness or my riches are something pretty different. Like, unless and until I'm psyched about something I'm working for, like, I don't care for the money. But that the day that, like, that psychiness goes out of that window, right, I am moving out. That's my pretty simple thing. Like, and I create that
That's
timeline
a
for
very
people.
good thought. I feel chasing money has got a lot of people very depressed. And that is another thing which
Exactly.
I feel very strongly about, and that's the mental health pandemic. I think more than COVID, mental health is a pandemic which
Yeah.
is
But, like, a lot
going
of
on.
people,
And
like, the rates of suicide has gone high than any time.
so in the last 2 months, 10 doctors have committed suicide.
Yeah.
And of course, Sushant Singh Rajput is hogging all the limelight, so they are not getting any media attention. But 10 doctors across institutions all over the country have committed suicide. And
Exactly.
it was already a very stressful job. And now with COVID, it's magnified to 1,000-fold,
That's true.
not even a
That's true.
hundred-fold, it's magnified to 1,000-fold. You can't, like, most people, like, I'm not married, but most people my age are married, they have kids. You can't
Yep.
hold your kid without
Yep.
feeling stressed. You can't hug your parents without feeling stressed. It's just horrible. And for what end? For thankless people who shout at you all day. Like I told you yesterday's story, that child had fever, it could have had COVID. No,
Yeah.
I don't know, every patient we are assuming to be COVID
Yeah.
unless
That's
proven
true.
otherwise. ठीक है, उसका मैंने पूरा वर्कअप किया, कैनुला मैंने लगाया, फ्लूइड मैंने लगाया, सब मैंने किया. अब वो उसको could have had COVID for all
Yep.
practical purposes, and वो मेरे पे इतना अच्छे से चिल्ला के गया है ना, तो मेरे को भी ये लगता है कि why should I do it?
Yeah.
But then it's a kind of a system we're stuck in. But I really hope that in the coming year, especially after the pandemic, the world gets a little more empathetic to what
Hopefully.
doctors go through
Yeah.
and to what it is to be a doctor.
Yeah. Because,
It's
like,
quite bad. Like,
if you look at it, like, कुछ problem होता है, body में problem होता है, like, we are like, चल, let's go to the hospital, let's consult a doctor or something like that. Like, but when the doctors actually feel stressed, or, like, they feel overworked, or, like, they feel exhausted, right? There has to be what you can say, a society or an organization that treats doctors for their, like, mental wellness, right? It's not there. Like, and plus the problem is,
not
like,
there, but of late, the Indian Medical Association has started a helpline, a mental health helpline for doctors. After the pandemic started, they started
okay,
a mental health helpline for doctors, and numbers available on the IMA website. And if any time, and there are trained psychiatrists and psychologists who are manning the helpline, and
okay,
they're there for you 24/7. So
that's
that they've
interesting.
done for us,
That's
and
interesting.
that's a very good
Yeah,
initiative on the
that's true.
IMA's part. The
That's true.
IMA, quite personally, I feel the IMA is a very good regulatory
Obviously,
body.
that's true.
Yeah, in the sense that they are always advocating for our rights, and they're always, very active about, like, if there's a lot of violence against doctors which happens,
Yeah.
and a lot of injustice which happens.
Yeah.
Like, when the pandemic started, a huge number of residents were kicked out of their homes.
Yeah.
They were asked to leave the rented accommodations, and on the premise that they'll be carrying the virus, and we don't
Yeah.
want that in our homes, stuff like that. So the IMA really fought for us. They said that these people are serving you by risking their own neck. And a
Exactly.
huge number of doctors have died. I mean, there are, I
Yeah,
know of
exactly.
of 18, my own, one of my best friends who's my age had a heart attack. He had a myocardial infarction because of COVID. He was in the ICU for a good 2 weeks. So, many, and I know of a few of my friends who've contracted the virus. I know of a friend who operated on a COVID positive case, got the virus, went home, gave it to his mother, who was a cancer survivor. Luckily, they all made it through. Touch wood for that. But there are a lot of doctors who didn't make it, and
Yeah, that's true.
it's quite sad that
Yeah.
itna kuch karke bhi we don't get the respect that is due to us. So yeah, it's sad. Like I remember once I was in second year or third year of
Okay.
residency, and I took one delivery,
Okay.
and the baby was a girl. So I told the mother, "तुम्हारी लड़की हुई है,"
Hmm.
and I showed her the baby. She's like, she just made a face and she didn't respond.
Okay.
And then when we told the father that it's a girl,
Hmm.
he got really violent. He's like, it can't be a girl. So I said, but it is a girl, He's like, no, but we got a test done
Hmm.
and we were told it's a boy. And हमने तो 10,000 रुपए दे के 2 बारी टेस्ट कराया and हमें बताया गया था कि लड़का है और अब आप कह रहे हो लड़की है तो आपने तो बच्चा बदला है. So, I was sort of taken aback. I was like, listen, there are limited babies here who are, kisi ke hai. I don't have spare babies lying in my bag that
Exactly.
I can just swap like that.
Yeah.
So then he got so angry, he started breaking windows and all. He got really violent. So I got very scared. I locked myself in one of the rooms. And the gynac and all, also we all rocked, all three. There were three of us, all three of us were women, two gynacs and me. Three of us were
Okay.
there, and we locked ourselves in the room, and then we called the security and all that. And then this guy was such an asshole, he called the cops on us.
Eh?
He's like कि इन्होंने बच्चा बदला है and इनको arrest करो. And the cops came and the cops are like, madam क्या हुआ है? So I
Hmm.
said कुछ नहीं हुआ है, इनकी लड़की हुई है, ये मानने को तैयार नहीं, इन्होंने वो prenatal sex determination कराया है. So the
वो तो
cops,
इलीगल है.
so they said it's illegal. Yeah, they said
Hmm.
कि ये भी जेल जाएंगे, इनके डॉक्टर भी जेल जाएंगे. मैंने कहा बहुत अच्छी बात है. मेरे को छोड़ो यार से, मेरे को हटाओ, ठीक है? And then the next day it was reported in the Ghaziabad newspaper. It was so funny.
Wow.
So, incidences like this happen. Twice it's happened that, we've been on the brink of getting beaten up also. But luckily that situation was diffused when the security and all intervened. Then once it happened that I lost a patient and it was a chronic illness case which we couldn't save. And then for almost 2 weeks, I was getting threatening phone calls. And, the guy was saying, मैं आपको मेरे जो भाई साहब हैं वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के वकील हैं, हमने पोस्टमार्टम कराया है, आपने मेरे बच्चे के खाने में जहर डाला है, and whatnot. So it was basically accusing us of poisoning the child. And yeah, so it's just the point is that losing a child is a tough time, and one of the phases of grief is anger. Like there's this
So you want
psychologist
to blame.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Yeah, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross defines the stages of grief. There are 5 stages of grief, and the first is denial, the second is anger. So in that phase of anger, a lot of people sue. A lot of people, try to find fault. Like this guy said, you've poisoned the food.
Yeah, they
Why
try
would
to
we
find
poison the
reasons.
food?
Yeah.
And where would we get the poison from? It's just nonsense. But it's the way the human mind works. So a lot of times you have to just be patient. Like I was very unnerved when I got these threatening phone calls. I was told that I'll drag you to the Supreme Court, I'll destroy you, I'll destroy your family, this and that. So it was very unnerving, but then it was just a phase of anger, and of course with time it passed. Nothing came out of it. But these are also the kind of daily struggles, especially in pediatrics, because I think losing a child is way more impactful and way more. I don't think impactful is the right word. Way more disheartening and unnerving than an old person dying. So it's very
Because like it's a small life, like it just like it's just came into the world, like, and it's pretty difficult. Like for example, my sister had a child recently, right? And like when the kid was born, like it's a beautiful type to stuff, right? And
इतना सही होता है.
I mean, like so But when the kid was born, like he was like इतना सा छोटा सा बच्चा, आंखें भी नहीं खुली है
इतना
उसकी.
सही होता है.
हाँ. तो
Then there are
इतना सा like.
premature babies who are they're like this much. They're like this much.
तो वही इतना
A
सा है.
700-gram baby is this much. I'm not even kidding. Like the size of the remote plus a little more. This is the size of a 700-gram baby.
Oh shit. So
they're this tiny.
Yeah, he was like itto sa, like
the size of a pen. There was once a baby born and I measured it with a pen. I said, "ये pen की size का है." Yeah.
Like मैंने जब देखा था, I was crying. बोला चलो ठीक है, ये experience भी ले लिया मैंने life में. Like I have seen the baby.
अच्छा है ना? So
right?
when your time comes, you'll be good at it.
Let's see. Let's hope. So Rajkumar Hirani was from my college, my plus two.
Wow.
So Maharashtra में plus two is college.
Rajkumar Hirani is that guy ना जिसने वो movie बनाई है. That song.
मुन्ना भाई से लेके everyone like.
Oh, superb.
Right.
मुन्ना भाई is a very good movie. I really like it.
जो संजू भी उसी ने बनाया.
अरे वो जो दिखाते हैं ना जिसमें वो लाइन में खड़े हुए हैं, उसकी मदर
that form fill करने के लिए.
Very true.
That's true. Yeah,
that's very true. So you can keep this part in the podcast because I'll tell you what happened once. I was in RML hospital. I was an intern, and there was one girl. She had I think 10-15 vomitings, and she was very dehydrated. She was in shock, and उसकी ना file खो गई.
Okay.
बिना फाइल के ना nobody attends to patients because it's a gross violation and you can get into trouble with the medical legal stuff and all. Okay. But and that father, he started crying in front of me. I was an intern. Okay, I didn't have any qualms of I didn't have any idea also कि क्या medical legal aspects होते हैं. तो मुझे वो बोला कि so I saw the patient was very sick. I thought मैं fluid नहीं लगाऊंगी तो मर जाएगी. तो मैंने बस I just picked up a cannula without telling anybody and I just put in the cannula. I started a bottle of normal saline. Okay. And that's how one of my co-interns at that time, he saw me do it and he was like, look at you and you and I are going to be friends for life and till date we are best friends. So that's awesome. How till date he says कि पता है तेको वो जो तूने किया था ना उस दिन, that is something I still remember कि तूने वो पेशेंट को इतनी जान बचा ली जबकि उसके पास फाइल नहीं थी, कुछ नहीं था. Because without the file, no nurse would put her treatment. No doctor would attend to her. And I was just like, if I don't put it, she's gonna die. Yeah. So I was just like, let's fuck the system and let's just do at least what is in my, as an intern, you just know normal saline is like your panacea for everything,
Yeah.
और तो मुझे कुछ आता नहीं है, मैं normal saline लगा देती हूँ, उससे बच जाए. And then I just put in the cannula लगाना नया सीखा था उस time, तो मैंने intracath लगाया and I put in the cannula and I was like,
I think some network issue because the call automatically dropped. So you were saying something.
I was just saying that there are times when you're stuck 26-27 hours, you've already been working and you're just dead with exhaustion, but then some patient comes and they need your urgent attention, and even though you don't want to get up, you get up because that feeling that a family is going to lose their child if you don't get up, and a little amount of effort, extra effort from your side could save someone's life. That's what drives you. And that's something which my parents taught me, that if you want to be a good doctor, you have to treat every patient like they're your family member. And you have to go the extra mile for every patient like you would had it been your own family. So that's the kind of philosophy that I follow in my daily life. And
so just one last topic, which is like a common thing that we do with every guest that's there, right? And the question is pretty simple. The question is 10 years from now, what is the world where you will want to live in? Forget हमारे goals क्या है, हमारे aspirations क्या है, what the change that we want to bring in the world, वो उसको side में रखो. The world where you will want to live 10 years from now.
It's a very interesting question. So I think 10 years from now, at least I want to live in a world where there are enough health facilities for everyone. Not to, it doesn't matter whether you have the ability to pay or you don't have, and which area you are in. There should be a health facility for you. There should be a doctor for your kid. there should be a setup for you to get admitted if you're unwell. And that's the change I would like to have in the health sector. And in the world, I would like there to be more empathy towards everybody, more kindness towards everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I think kindness is the key word here. It's
That's nice. That's interesting.
it's a cruel world out there, and I
Yeah,
just
that's
want
true.
it to be more kind. That's it.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
the bottom line.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's the bottom line. Be kind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Have
kind of
courage
world
and
that
be
I
kind.
imagine, it like it requires people to be number one self-aware, right?
Yeah,
If people are self-aware, they won't envy anyone. They won't be depressed. They won't be
true,
actually
true,
angry.
true, true,
Number
true.
two, I want people to be detached from materialistic things,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
forget
and
chasing money.
if someone is being an asshole to you, don't just jump to the conclusion that that person is an asshole.
You
Maybe
don't know
they're
what
undergoing,
exactly,
exactly,
exactly.
you don't know what their circumstances are. Maybe they lost a person they loved, or maybe they're in a lot of
Something,
emotional
yeah,
or personal turmoil. And just be empathetic that everyone is suffering. There's,
exactly.
like they say na, kabhi kisi ko mukammal jahan nahi
नहीं
milta.
मिलता.
So
Yeah, that's true.
so agar if you see someone who you feel has got it all sorted, I don't think they have it all sorted. It's always um, a more rosy, like
Yeah,
they paint rosier picture than it is. So we should always be empathetic and be kind. That's the kind of world I want, where
that's true.
kindness is of paramount importance.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's very much important. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and for that is the reason, why I don't ever get into fights. I never get into fights or arguments or
Yeah, me
anything.
neither. I mean,
I'm like, कोई
I
कोई कुछ बोलता है तो मैं उसका मजाक बनाता हूँ. बोला हाँ ठीक है, fun है. It's fun. It's fun.
मैं तो
Because it's
मजाक भी नहीं
fun.
बनाती, मुझे कोई कुछ बोलता है तो मैं रोने लगती हूँ and then I get over it.
No, I
बस हो
don't even
गया.
cry. I don't even cry. I'm like, fun. Oh, nice. This is a new angle to मेरे को बताया. Nice. This is nice. चल उस पे joke बना. So,
Yeah,
at the end,
I mean, come on, take a chill pill, yeah. I
exactly,
think the
right?
world needs to chill. That's what the
Because
bottom
what
line
I
is.
understood is I understood this pretty early in life is you yourself cannot be what you can say your own critic. A lot of people say, even
Yeah,
the psychologist says, you should evaluate yourself in a different way, not everyone else does, etc., etc. But what I have understood is you yourself cannot be your own critic. Reason
and I think
because
constructive criticism from family and friends is very important.
see, apart from you, everyone else,
Yeah, uh,
they are going to do that for you. They will
yeah,
criticize anyways. वो constructive रहेगा, destructive रहेगा, it's gonna happen, right?
it's gonna happen.
Whatever you do, it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah,
So,
and you should take it in your stride. I mean, come on,
so
if
if even if you start criticizing yourself, then you are just getting in, flowing in that wave of criticism.
yeah,
Don't criticize yourself. Just listen to them. It's okay. कोई चीज constructive है, just take it as a feedback and it's probably improve, but don't criticize yourself. And that's one thing that I like work on, for example, for this podcast, right? The TVV show, full form पता है आपको इसका?
किसका?
मेरे podcast के नाम का,
हाँ,
it's called
नहीं.
TVV show.
No, I don't know.
Okay, the full
What is
form
it?
is the Very Veery Show.
Oh, that's such a nice
Okay.
name.
Right. So I mean, I've been always fascinated by the idea of having a podcast on Spotify. Right.
अच्छा.
I am happy with that fact that मेरा Spotify पे podcast आ गया.
Hmm.
Right. So I am having a podcast channel on Spotify with my own name. Right. And people are
That's a
listening.
very big.
And people are listening. So
Congratulations on
that
that.
is
Oh, they're
more than
listening to
enough.
me. Oh, I'm so honored to
So
be.
once this get published, they will be listening as well. Right.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I didn't
Right.
know.
So it's on Google Podcast, it's on Spotify, it's on Hubhopper, it's on YouTube. ये चार जगह पे है.
Wow. Oh, hats off to you.
right? And I don't care 10 लोग सुन रहे हैं या 1000 लोग सुन रहे हैं. What matters is people are listening.
Of
So,
course, of course. And
that's
I think this is it's an important means of telling the world that there are inequalities, there are problems.
yeah,
Do what you can,
exactly.
and I think we are the more privileged part of society, and everybody who's listening is going to be more privileged than the kind of people we're trying to help. So even though
That's
we
true.
can't remove these inequalities overnight, we can do what we can to help those who are the worst affected and the worst,
That's true.
just in a bad shape. So
Yeah.
just do what you can in your own life, and trust me, it's a very good feeling. I think one of the reasons why I do a lot of charity work is because it helps my anxiety, and it helps it keeps me calm. Like the
Okay.
altruism keeps me a lot calmer than I would normally be regarding situations like hurdles which come in life and all the unfortunate events that happen. So I feel good about giving back to society, even though there are a lot of problems in my own life. Yeah.
That's nice. मुझे so मेरे लाइफ का सिंपल है. Like I like पहले रायता फैला दो, फिर समेटते रहो आराम से. क्योंकि जब तक रायता फैला नहीं है तब तक लाइफ में एक्साइटमेंट नहीं है. वो प्लेन एंड सिंपल वेनिला चल रही है.
मेरी लाइफ में तो फैला ही रहता है. ठीक है.
Exactly.
It's always like I am like a tragedy queen. Okay. Something or the other is continuously tragic in my life. All right, something, and all my friends know about it. They're all like, "Oh my God, she's a tragedy queen." And with me, like the kind of social person I am, whenever some smallest of thing happens, I am gonna message like 10 of my friends, yoga. I need to whine about it. I need to vent about it. I need to talk to people about it. Otherwise, I'm gonna implode. So that's the kind of person I am. So they all know कि भाई इसका तो कुछ नहीं है. ये तो बहुत बड़ी tragedy queen है. ठीक है. She's all
That's
about
nice.
tragedy on a daily basis. So yeah,
That's
they're all
nice.
very used to it, and they're very supportive. Like I'm blessed, touch wood. I have the best friend circle in the universe, and of course they must be listening. So
I'm sure.
thanks,
I'm
guys.
sure.
I love you. Yeah.
That's nice. Like friends of Radhika, please like and subscribe to the channel.
Yes,
Like,
please like and subscribe and listen to it and know that I love you.
All right, everyone. That was the episode 4 of TVV Show. Do share, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. And all the links and things that we talked about Dr. Radhika and Every Infant Matters is in the description below. Please please show your love and support to their work as well. Thank you all.